Hi, I'm Ryan Stockstead. I'm the producer on Athena.
And I'm Andrew Kadikian, the writer and director. Welcome to this behind-the-scenes look at the shooting of the movie. So jumping right into it, the original idea for Athena was produced sometime around late 2014. I was working on a project with the executive producer of the film, Guy Pereira. I've known him for 5 years now. I still haven't figured out how to say his last name. We were working on a web series that him and I were doing at the time, and we did a sci-fi episode. And I realized that the effects for the sci-fi episode were actually not as hard as I thought they were going to be. And around April or May of 2015, I had the first draft of the script done, and I showed it to Ryan and to Guy.
For the next couple of months, Andrew took the script home and, continued to write new updated drafts.
Yeah, and then when August came around, we were working on the Los Angeles 48-hour film project, as we usually do every year. It was, I believe, the first weekend in August. Once that the 48 was done that year, we jumped into pre-production on Athena.
Originally, we kind of wanted to shoot it by, November?
November, I think the first shoot dates were like the second or third weekend of November.
Yeah, we had this ambitious plan to be shooting by November, but the sheer amount of work that was needed for pre-production between whenever we picked it up in August and by the time we ultimately shot in January, it took longer than shooting in November.
Not to mention we had a bunch of other projects going on at the same time. Friends of ours were doing things. One of our friends was doing his thesis film at school.
I was in the middle of Halloween Horror Picks.
Halloween Horror Picks
August
was going
and
on.
October was
Yes.
yeah.
We also were doing another 48-hour film project. That year, the city producers of LA wanted to do a holiday-themed one, so we actually ended up doing that one as well in November. So finally in November, after all of our other projects had stopped messing with our schedules, we were able to start location scouting for the movie. Now, the script called for a dense foresty location. A lot of trees. We couldn't have any visible structures.
Finding a location that was secluded and where you could point the camera in multiple locations and you weren't going to see a freeway or have an airplane fly overhead every 5 minutes was a real challenge.
At the same time, the San Bernardino shooting happened here in LA.
We knew that we were going to have a bunch of actors dressed in
military gear,
running
big
around
guns
with gigantic prop weapons. Very quickly, we realized we were absolutely going to have to find some sort of private location to shoot at, that we were not going to be able to do this guerrilla style. Ultimately, I remembered a summer camp that I had worked at previously. We worked out a deal with them, and they were fantastic. We drove up to Wrightwood and we shot at Lions Camp at Camp Teresita Pines, and it became just a totally different production once we locked down that location.
The first thing that would change in the production is that we would need to make the shoot down into 2 days.
Yeah.
Schedule it down into 2 days.
Condensing it down to 2 days was definitely tricky because we knew we were going to have a lot of stunts and special effects and everything else, makeup. Probably the biggest change that came from this location is the weather. We knew that we were shooting in January at this point, but up in the mountains in California, you get snow. While Andrew was initially excited about the idea of shooting in the snow, I, being from Minnesota, basically said, "Are you fucking crazy?" Because I knew that meant just a whole host of new problems and difficulties.
Oh, cool, we get to shoot in the snow. No one's going to have snow in their movie. This
He's
is going to be
thinking,
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to look beautiful, which it does.
It does look beautiful.
But
of
we
course,
suffered.
All right, Master Shredder, what's going on today?
we're shooting in the snow. It's fucking cold. It didn't help that we were up there the weekend after their biggest storm in 6 years in that area.
Foot of snow,
It was about
2 foot drifts.
about a foot and a half, I think,
Yeah.
in a lot of parts, and then 2 foot drifts for sure. Since this now was going to be essentially a winter shoot in like the Angeles National Forest, not just somebody's backyard, we realized that we needed to be sticklers about safety. So we had a big safety meeting.
So finding a space for free, because that suddenly that was an expense we could not accommodate, became a challenge. Ultimately, we found a room at the North Hollywood Police Department. We were able to have our safety meeting in a room that was large enough to fit 20 plus people. I don't remember how many actually ended up being there.
It was close to the full crew.
Yeah.
There was only a few people that were missing, and thankfully so, because there were a lot of safety concerns that we had to go through. Not the least of which was what to wear out there for the cold weather. Mid to high 30s up there at the high.
At the highs, and overnights it was going to be below
Overnights,
zero.
yes, it was very, very, very cold.
Yeah.
Right now we're heating up my hip pads because they froze and they started cracking. They're still cracking.
Those safety considerations also extended to the wardrobe department.
Stephen Boyd Morales, our awesome costume designer, had to design the costumes for all the characters, and now since we were shooting up there in the cold, he had to worry about the temperature for them. Specifically for the leads who had to wear those techie costumes, they may look thin, but they're actually, he went out of his way to make sure that they were thick winter coats, and to make sure that they had layers underneath that, including thermals. So if you're looking for a costume designer for your next project, we would highly recommend Stephen. If you look down below, you'll find links on where to find him, as well as any of the other awesome people we're talking about in this video who worked with us. So let's talk about the makeup department. We had a long kind of process of trying to find our special effects makeup artist, and we ended up with Chelsea Heilman, who we met on the 48-hour film project.
Well, yeah, while we were attending the screenings for the 48-hour film project, I saw this movie that had like full body makeup work for like werewolves and stuff, and as soon as the screening was over, I immediately looked for her and said, you know, I need your card, because I knew instantly that I wanted to work with her at some point on something.
She did a fantastic job with all the makeup applications. We had a scar over one of our actors, which included a contact, which his eye had to be bionic, like he got damaged and he got it replaced. We had multiple burns. The main actors had some base makeup on them. There was a lot of blood splattering, which was fun in the snow. So she did an awesome job, and I should also mention her assistants, Damian Zimmerman and Kelly Bolin, who were fantastic. Our whole makeup department killed it.
Yeah. Let's talk about Brandon and the prop department now.
Right, so my friend Brandon, who I've been working with on multiple shorts and things on the Rogue Division channel, he went to work during the pre-production phase on getting things together. He was always sending me pictures and drawings and things that he was putting together, and he ended up making some pretty awesome looking props, not the least of which are these pretty badass looking laser plasma rifles that we ended up using. These are actually Nerf guns that Brandon bought and just painted. He also put together a lot of things from scratch, one of which was our beacon here. Now this plays an important role in the script and in the story. Obviously you can tell he put this together with a...
I don't think it is obvious. I think you have to look pretty carefully
Right?
to tell what he put together there. I mean, it's really pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it actually works out pretty well. Well, obviously or not, if you would like to know, it's a credit card reader on top of a modem. And these legs are actually parts of the guns. They're bipods that came with the Nerf guns, so we kind of repurposed those as well.
No, it worked great. It looks great in the final project.
Right, everything looks great. I mean, the costumes look great. All the props look great. The makeup looked great. Every department killed it, and it all looks so awesome in the snow. You know, one of the cool things that did look so much better in the snow was people flying through the air. 3, 2, 1, go! We met these awesome guys from Iron Relic Entertainment through the 48-hour film project. They are longtime competitors as we are.
If you haven't seen any of their films, absolutely check them out. As soon as we started talking about the stunts that we needed, it just seemed like, well, let's give them a call.
Right. So I had a meeting with Bryan Forrest, who ended up being our stunt coordinator, and we went over the script and went over in detail what each of the stunts were going to be. What ended up happening is Bryan, Carolyn, Feres, and Andrew Luckenbill, who were the team that came out, actually worked with our actors on every facet of working out there in the snow, from running through the snow, making it look real, to how the mercenaries were going to hold the guns and look like they were actually had military training, to training the guys on going over trampoline jumps the night of Saturday before we got to those stunts on Sunday. Not to mention working with the actors on all the fight choreography.
I think that probably is not 30 seconds of this movie spread out over the whole shoot that they didn't have some, you know, impact on.
Yeah, I crossed right in front of Gil.
That's awesome.
So that should match up.
Even with all of this fantastic talent and all of the planning and pre-production that went into it, we pretty much were running behind schedule instantly on day one. You want to talk a little bit about that difficulty?
Yes. I hesitate to use this word, but I'll go ahead and say it. I think disaster would be a good word to put to the set. And we've been on a couple disasters, and namely our 40-hour film project in August. But
that one ran 30
hours.
30 hours? Was it only 30? Was it only 30 hours straight of shooting? It was
felt like a lot.
It was shooting for 30 hours straight.
For those of you who know how to do a 40-hour film project,
don't do it that way.
Don't do it that way.
That's not the way to do it.
So on Athena, we we had everything planned down to a T, and we kind of knew exactly how we were going to do everything. But ultimately, at the end of day one, we ended up having shot 2 scenes out of a planned 5.
Yeah, that was a very sobering moment at the end of the day. But you guys, to your credit, you and Chris,
our DP, Christopher Thellis, who did a phenomenal job on the shoot,
and Vinny,
our AD, Vinny DeSanti,
sat down and worked on it for hours while the stunt team was training and working with the actors. All of your sort of like, you know, work on figuring out the cameras and the schedule and everything pretty much went out the window on Saturday night.
Right.
Meticulously broken down and rebuilt again.
What ended up happening is we had a much more condensed, yet still bulky 7 scenes to shoot on Sunday.
Yeah.
So when we got up to work on Sunday, we knew we had to be rushing through everything. So we made sure we did things in as few takes as possible. We ran series instead of takes, and we ended up shooting 7 scenes in a day and made our weekend. I'd like to point out too that there were at least 5 40-hour film project teams represented among our crew on this shoot. So we were all used to running late, crunch time, putting out fires, and, you know, rushing through shoots to get them done.
Yeah, I mean, I think the every single person on this production who had previously worked on a 48-hour film project was really asked to dig deep and channel those solutions and
we drew on our 48 experience for
bring
sure.
that experience to bear to the production, and it paid off.
So then about 2 or 3 weeks after the shoot, I got together with my buddy Roy Bisada, and we went back up to the camp and flew our Phantom 3 drone over the forest to get some aerial shots. So some of the drone footage was ultimately unusable, but we ended up getting some pretty good stuff with a little bit of cutting in post.
Oh yeah. When can everyone expect to get to watch Athena?
I think the truest thing I could say is sometime in 2016.
Okay.
But make sure you subscribe here to the Rogue Division channel for trailers, behind the scenes, and other content while you wait, and so you get notified when the full film comes out.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching this behind-the-scenes look at Athena. I'm Ryan Stockstead.
And I'm Andrew Kadikian. Be sure to like the Athena Facebook page, link is down below, and make sure you subscribe to the RD channel so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.
They're gonna be crawling over this place soon. We gotta hurry. Ready? Go. Sparrow Company? How'd she send them? They're a bunch of heavily armed murder junkies.
They're lying to us.
I knew it.
Shoot him!
Game is live in 5 seconds. Go, go, go!